to be billion-dollar insurance companies. If you've been injured, I'd like to help.
Spencer Callahan is the one to see. Call 387-2323.
LA filing number 16-7969.
WNXX Jackson, KNXX Donaldsonville, and WDGL HD2 Baton Rouge. This hour brought to you by Spencer Callahan Injury Lawyers. LA 21 12681. Offices in Baton Rouge. Now, the Hunt Palmer Show.
Yes! I feel like I've been waiting for this my entire life.
You're listening to the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Jolly good fun. Jolly good.
Locking down the middle of the day.
America's favorite daytime fun show.
Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio. This is Hunt Palmer.
Welcome in. Hunt Palmer coming to you from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio downtown in the capital city on this Tuesday. Hope your work week's off to a good start. We're fired up. You're here with us on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Got Jacob Beck and Cassie Spazzali back there on the ones and twos. And this is quickly becoming the busiest news week in the college football calendar. We got a lot to get to over the next 2 hours, and we'll try to chew on as much of it as we can. Glenn West is going to be with us from Go 24/7 at 1:30. We'll mainly talk football with Glenn, a little bit of basketball as well. We're going to talk with Sonny Shipp, also of Go 24/7 at 2:15, to talk about all things that are going on in the roster building world. I hesitate to even call it recruiting because it is high school recruiting, and then there's roster retention and there's transfer portal and all those type of things. The portal's not even open yet, but folks are certainly making their intentions clear. So we'll talk to Sonny about all that at 2:15. It's National Signing Day comes up tomorrow for the high schoolers. Sheree Aishack, WDSU, will be with us to talk all things Saints and Little Pels. At the bottom of hour number 2, we've got Will Campbell declaring for the NFL draft, and I've got some thoughts on some of the other guys that have a decision to make over the next few weeks for LSU. College football playoff rankings tonight. You get the picture. I didn't even mention the fact that LSU and Florida State are playing basketball. I'm going to talk about that in 15 minutes. But there's just a ridiculous amount to get to here over the next 2 hours. So go ahead and lock us in. We'll start the same way we start each and every day. That's with our Genesis opening drive.
It's time for Hunt's opening drive, presented by Genesis of Baton Rouge.
Okay, LSU football Twitter is not in a great headspace. LSU football message board folks, whether that's subscription-based or otherwise, are not in a great headspace. There's been a lot that has been put on this high school signing class that LSU staff had worked to assemble over the last really 3 years. And it still looks very good on paper. It looked better on paper 2 weeks ago. Of course, the news of Bryce Underwood decommitting was gutting to LSU staff, to the program, and to the fan base. Earlier today, Cade Phillips, a 5-star defensive back that LSU had worked to flip away from Texas in August, decided he was flipping back from LSU to Texas. You've got Jakeem Stewart, who's reclassified, and a lot of folks feel is trending towards Southern Cal. And I think there are a lot of people in LSU land, not necessarily the staff specifically, they've got more information than we do, but most people who follow the program, whether fans or folks that cover the team, that are like, this is an absolute disaster for LSU. And I completely understand that sentiment. Having a commitment for a year from the number one player in the nation at the most important position in all of sports and losing them at the last hour is brutal. You realize what LSU's got to do in the secondary to get where they're trying to be and get back to the run that LSU was on over the course of almost 2 decades of grabbing 5-stars from all over the country, put them in the defensive secondary for 3 years, churning out Thorpe Award winners, All-Americans and first-round picks, and becoming DBU. And they haven't been that for a few years. And you felt like when you brought back Corey Raymond, there's a good chance that you could continue on that path. And DJ Pickett's name's been rumored about here and there, and most people say he's going to be locked in, but how can you trust anything that any of these young men are doing at this point? It's a really difficult situation that they're in, and from the outside, it's gut-wrenching to sit there and watch. But Cade Phillips is committed to one place, and then committed to another place, and then committed back to the other place. And that hurts your ability to put together that class that had 2 5-star corners and the number one corner in the state of Louisiana, and Aiden Anding. And then Jakeem Stewart, who was the number one player in the nation in the junior class and is now reclassified, that guy gets away from South Louisiana. When those things happen, it's devastating to LSU fans when Joe McKnight leaves and when Landon Collins leaves and Greg Robinson leaves. And you know the names of the guys from the state of Louisiana that have gone on to other places. And when those guys don't commit to LSU, it's jarring to LSU fans. And I get all of that emotion that goes into this. I changed personally my investment in the world of high school recruiting like 7, 8, 9 years ago. Like when I was in high school and college, I mean, I was locked in. Give me all the information. Tell me everything you know. This is do or die. This is the way you have to build your program. LSU's really good at it. That's why they're competing for championships. This is the most important thing to pay attention to. And I stopped because you've got high school kids throwing hats all over the place on tables and flying in out of airplanes and decommitting on the last day without the staff knowing anything. And I'm going, okay, here's how I feel about recruiting now. Tell me about it when the ink dries. I don't care what socks they wore to camp. I don't care who had the last visit. I don't care what their girlfriend's car is on Instagram. Like that stuff is not important to me. Recruiting is, but let me see when the ink dries. That's the way I feel about it. And now that we've gotten into this NIL era, and just look at Hayes Fawcett's feed right now for On 3. He's got all these graphics up, and there are flips every 15 minutes. There was one today from Miami to Oregon. There's one today from Auburn to Michigan. LSU and Texas have been involved in multiple Cade Phillips. It's not just LSU that's losing players. It's the ones that we care about, but it's not just LSU. It's all over the country. And we're now at the 11th hour, and it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out what's going on right now. There are collectives that are just moving money around, and that's the most powerful thing here. And when you're dealing with young people, 18, 17-year-olds, in these amounts of money, you're going to get mind changes. I had a conversation over the last 2 weeks with someone who played college football 15 years ago. And I said, was anyone on your team like really they have a ton of money? Just obviously have a ton of money. And he said, not really. Like there were guys that were getting $3,500 here, $1,700 here, $1,000 here. You got a job and you might have gotten a little bit more. But there was money involved. And certainly, trust me, if someone had handed me $3,500 cash when I was a freshman at LSU, that would have been jarring to me. Now we're dealing in the millions. It's a different world. There are millions of dollars on the table. And I don't know this because I didn't talk to everyone who played college football 15 years ago, but I did have one conversation with a player. And like nobody had $1.5 million for the time between October and Christmas. Like that wasn't happening. You couldn't hide that well enough. Like Reggie Bush is a famous situation. I'm not suggesting it never happened once. I'm suggesting it was far out of the norm. And now you've got this happening, and these flips are going to happen all across the country, all over the place. And I feel like LSU's probably going to be on the short end of it more often than not, and that's a discussion that we need to have. But now I've completely shifted on all this because it's like Cade Phillips is not going to come to LSU. But if you lose Cade Phillips and Jakeem Jackson, who was once a high four-star corner, who's 2 years older and was a starter for Florida for the first 2 games of this year, transfers over to LSU, that's what and what to me. Like, I don't know if Cade Phillips is any good. He probably is. Jakeem Jackson's probably good. It's all about roster composition at this point. Because the thought that we had that if you get a high schooler, you'll have him for 3 or 4 years and you can develop him in the program. So it's better to go to the high school ranks than it is to go to the transfer portal where you're getting mercenaries for a year. It's rooted in truth, but can you really be sure you're getting the high school kid for more than 1 year? Can you? No. So it's just year to year. I mean, basketball is already like this because you're only dealing with 9 guys that play anyway, and you'll just go get the next 4 in and go to get the next 4 the next year, and they're everybody's in the portal. And we already knew this about basketball. And baseball, to an extent, LSU's going to bring their high schoolers in, but they're going to go and they're going to supplement it with some high-end guys out of the transfer portal. Football, we kind of thought was a little bit closer to the old model when you're at a place like LSU, and you can bring in 25, 4- and 5-star players. But these guys, it behooves them financially to bail on their school or their commitment every single year. That's the best way to open the treasure chest. And we need to ditch the word commitment because it doesn't exist anymore. We can go with intention. We can go with, there is no commitment. Very, very, very rarely. These guys are flipping. They come for a year, they leave. They play 4 games, they redshirt. They're out of there. Like, it's a different world. And so for me, it's not going to change personally my investment when LSU comes out of the tunnel. When LSU comes out of the tunnel, I'm ready to go. I don't care how much the right tackle's making. I don't care how much the other team's running back's making. I don't care about any of that stuff. When LSU comes out of the tunnel, I'm ready to watch them play football. I will be every bit as emotionally invested in that Clemson game next year as I was for Alabama this year. That's just the way that I'm wired. But as far as recruiting goes, just show me what the roster looks like for Clemson. I can't get invested in 5-star cornerbacks. I can't get invested in 5-star quarterbacks. I can't get invested in 3-star running backs. I can't even get invested in the way that a young player plays and what they may look like down the road, because there's just, C.J. Daniels said last week to The Advocate, it really behooves me to come back. The portal's not even open yet, and he's in it a week later. So I can't follow that as religiously as I once did. We'll write about it. I'll talk about these guys for you. But as far as my emotional investment goes, it's still, roster building is still the most important piece in collegiate athletics. Kirby Smart said it. He's right. Players win games, not coaches. The way that you get these players now is so wildly off the wall and so back room that how am I supposed to even fake like I have any clue what's going on out there, or that I know what the environment's going to be like hour to hour, not day to day or month to month, literally by the hour. I can't do it. So for me, show me the guys they've got on scholarship for the next year. And right now, I don't really know much about LSU's team next year, so I can't forecast a ton about it. But got to get as many of these highly ranked high school kids in as you can, and you got to hit the portal really hard. And as everyone's been saying for a long time, you have to spend a bunch of money. And Brian Kelly can't spend his money, and Joe Sloan can't spend his money, and Blake Baker can't spend his money, and Frank Wilson can't spend his money. They've got to go to the boosters in the collective and take what money they have, determine what players they can get with that amount of money, and put the best product on the field they can do. And I can't even pretend to know what those conversations are like, what amount of money is ready to be given out, and how close they're missing out on some of these players that are committing to LSU and then deciding to go elsewhere. But I would suggest this. The more often you get into bidding wars with Texas and Michigan, you probably aren't going to win the majority of those. Not saying you'll never win one. Probably not the majority of those. That's my guess. And LSU lost another one today with a decommitment of Cade Phillips from LSU to Texas after Texas has lost his commitment to LSU. So it is what it is. That's my story, and that's the way that I'll feel about it. We're going to talk. This is like I said at the top of the show, as big a year as there is in college football with signing day and with the portal opening and with people deciding how they're going to go about. Now, LSU can't approach kids in the portal right now because it's not open yet, but you'll know who's out there, and you got to start figuring out the ones you need to go after, the ones you can get, and the ones that fit. And we'll see what Brian Kelly and his staff are able to do over the next 2 weeks. That's our Genesis opening drive. When we come back, let's shift gears from that discussion, which we'll return to. Let's talk about a big basketball game tonight, LSU and Florida State, 8 o'clock tip. Nobody's going to jump in the portal between now and the tip. So I think LSU, from a basketball perspective, so we can just focus on the guys that are going to be on the floor. We'll do that coming up next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Boudreaux's Electrical Services. Neil and Melissa have been running Boudreaux's Electrical for 40 years. They're a certified Generac dealer. They're a premier Generac generator dealer. That means they're in the top 3% nationwide in Generac generator sales. If you're a homeowner, you work from home, you got young kids at the house, or you just want to be comfortable when a hurricane comes through and the lights may be out for 2 days. Any of that applies to you? Generac Generator can help you with all of that. If you are a commercial property owner, a business owner, and you don't want the power to go out at your location, Boudreaux's Electrical Services can help you out with that. Every single generator that they sell you comes with a 7 to 10 year warranty, and they're able to monitor that generator remotely 24/7. So if something happens, mechanical failure, something hits it, knocks it loose, not going to function, they'll know about it before you will. And they'll send somebody out. They got more than 10 techs out in the field. They can handle a repair and get you back up and running so that you have the peace of mind of knowing that power is not going to go out on you. 985-397-1562 is the same number they've had for 40 years. That's 985-397-1562. Or you can call them at 225-300-9389. 225-300-9389 in Gonzales. Easy way, as I tell you every day, Boudreaux'Electrical.com.
It's no secret. The best oysters in Baton Rouge are at Jolie Pearl Oyster Bar. Enjoy mouth-watering South Louisiana flavor and oysters from all over the country. And don't forget our nightly drink specials. Jolie Pearl Oyster Bar, located in downtown Baton Rouge.
Got chores that need some extra muscle, but a large piece of equipment is overkill? That's what John Deere compact utility tractors were made for. Powerful enough for the work you need to do. Compact enough for how you need to do it. Find the equipment that's right for you at Sunshine Quality Solutions. Check out our current promotions and learn more about what it means to be powered by sunshine at sunequip.com.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
Breck teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered. Gold. Breck, your #1 park system in the nation.
At Relief Windows, we're more than windows. We're windows, doors, hardy plank, and vinyl siding. But our #1 product is always customer satisfaction.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
Glenn West, Go 24/7 Sports, be with us in 15 minutes, talking Tigers, talk some football with Glenn, certainly hit on some basketball as well. Sonny Shipp, an hour from right now, talking recruiting. National Signing Day cranks up tomorrow, so we'll revisit that conversation, not leaving it completely in the rearview mirror, but I will be leaving it completely in the rearview mirror from 8 o'clock to 10 o'clock tonight, because LSU's got a big basketball game inside the PMAC. Tonight and tomorrow, the ACC and SEC will play 16 games, 10 tonight and 6 tomorrow. Should be really, really exciting stuff over the next couple of days between those two conferences. And LSU and Florida State will get things rolling tonight at 10 o'clock on the SEC Network. 10 o'clock, 8 o'clock on the SEC Network from Baton Rouge. LSU 6-1 on the season, as you're well aware. Florida State is 7-1. They've only played one Power 5 game. That was a home game against Florida, and it looks like it was a sound defeat that Florida dealt them, but it really wasn't as bad as it looks. They lost the game by 13 points. It was 4 with 2.5 minutes to go, and then Florida boat raced over the last 2 minutes, and Florida State only scored 1 point. So Florida State got that thing really close with about 120 seconds left in the game and couldn't get it to the finish line. So it's a pretty good team. I'll talk about it, but I just kind of wanted to get an overview of the program a little bit here with Florida State. They're coming in. Leonard Hamilton has done a really, really good job at Florida State as the head coach. He's been there for 23 years. He's won 60% of his games over that time. He's been to the Sweet 16 5 different times, including 4 years ago in 2021. But since that year, they've kind of sputtered. The last 3 years, Florida State is 43-53 overall, 27-33 in ACC play. So they've been a bottom-level ACC team over the last couple of years. Hamilton is 76 years old, so it stands to reason he doesn't have a lot of time remaining on the bench there at Florida State. But got to imagine he's got eyes on the NCAA tournament this year, as LSU does. And this is a big game for a couple of teams that don't figure, in my opinion, to factor in at the top of their respective conferences. I don't right now think LSU is going to play with Alabama and Auburn and Tennessee and Kentucky right now. I hope I'm proven wrong. I hope they go 14-4. But I feel like LSU is probably more closer to a 500 team in the SEC, which is good enough to get in the tournament. I think that Florida State is probably bottom half of the ACC, and that makes this a pretty reasonable battle. So let's talk about kind of 3 things that I'm looking for in this game. The first is Jameer Watkins, who is the best player that Florida State has. He is a second-year player at Florida State, started his career at VCU, and he, after last year when he was an honorable mention All-ACC player, he entered the NBA Combine, tested those waters. Then he entered the transfer portal and ultimately decided to come back to Florida State. He is a 6'7" wing. He can shoot the three okay, just over 30% the last couple of years, 33%. He scores 17 points a game for him. He scored 30 in a game against Rice earlier this year, and he can really score at all levels. At 6'7", he can put it on the floor. He's got really long arms. He can get to the rim and finish, and he will shoot occasionally. And I'm curious how LSU defends him. I think Jai Bailey makes the most sense at 6'5". Victorious Miller's got a little more length than that, but he's just a freshman. Cam Carter's a little undersized to run around with Jameer Watkins, but I'm curious how LSU handles Watkins because, like I said, he averages 17.3 points per game, and no one else on Florida State's roster averages 11 points. So he is far and away their go-to scorer, and if you can bottle him up, their offense is going to struggle a little bit. But that's not where their identity is. Their identity as a team is on defense, and that's always been the case with Leonard Hamilton teams. Florida State ranks 9th in the country in defensive efficiency. They're 4th in the country in steals per possession. I mean, you're talking about top 5 in the country in anything in a 330-something team division. That's incredible stuff. So they really get after you with ball pressure and steal the basketball. They're 16th in the country in block percentage, which is also elite. They're 34th in the country in field goal percentage allowed. So they will turn you over. They turned Florida over 19 times in that game in Tallahassee. One, LSU's got to limit that. You can't turn it over 19 times. But two, when you talk about a front court for Florida State that is incredibly long, they've got Malik Hewitt, who's 6'11", and they've got Taylor Bowen, who's 6'10", not to mention they have 2 6'7" wings and a 6'5" point guard. Like, they are a handful at the rim. And then you look at LSU's guards, and you look at Jordan Sears at 5'10", and you look at Cam Carter at about 6'3", they're a lot smaller. They're going to have a lot of size. I mean, Sears is going up against a 6'5" point guard. Carter's going up against a 6'7" wing. Like, that's a lot of size to give up. And so it stands to reason LSU's going to have to make some jump shots in this game. Florida offset the fact that they had 19 turnovers because they made 10 threes. And they did do a good job in the paint as well, and LSU's going to have to rely on that some. But I think you're going to have to knock down some shots against this Florida State defense that is very, very good. The other piece to this puzzle for LSU are slow starts. Listen to this statistic. LSU is 244th in the country in first half points per game. 244. They're 37th in second half points. And that makes a ton of sense because against Northwestern State and Charleston Southern and Alabama State, who are all 197 or worse in the net, you fell behind those three teams in the Maravich Center, 92-80. You were outscored by all three of them. And then you come back and hammer them in the second half. You fell behind Central Florida by 20 in the first half, cut it to 15 at the break. Now you played great in the second half, played great in the second half of all those games. But you've got to start better. You can recover against Northwestern State from a slow start. You can recover against Charleston Southern, and they did recover against UCF, but they can't make a habit of that. And it's going to be really tough to come back against this Florida State defense if you don't get off to a better start. And I talked about this on yesterday's show when we recapped Friday's game. I don't know exactly why they're getting off to bad starts. I don't know if it's intensity, lack of execution, poor game plan, a lack of I don't know what it is. But it's got to change.
So one thing, I listened to the media availability yesterday, and they asked Jalen Reed about that, and he said, I don't know if this is the main reason why, but he said one of the reasons is actually kind of interesting. On offensively, they're on the other half of the floor from the bench.
Sure.
And apparently they've had trouble communicating, play calls or whatever Matt McMahon is trying to communicate with them. They've had issues with that, and that may be leading to some of their offensive struggles in the first half, at least.
All right, let me take that part. I appreciate that. That's good looking out there. If you can't communicate in a Pete Maravich Assembly Center with 2,600 people in it, you got big problems at Auburn and at Florida or wherever. I don't even know what their road schedule is, but that place is a church in November. So I can't they got to get that cleaned up in a hurry. I know we've got some Matt McMahon sound from his availability yesterday as they get ready for this one against Florida State.
Appreciate everyone being here today. Great opportunity for us tomorrow night against a really good Florida State team. Always have great respect for Coach Hamilton and his teams. They're elite defensively. When you look at the numbers, 5th in the country in block percentage, 4th in steal percentage, 3rd in forced turnovers. They really guard you and are very disruptive on that end of the floor. Offensively, Coach Hamilton always has very balanced teams. They're led by Watkins, who's averaging over 17 a game in just 25 minutes, which is hard to do.
And that's basically kind of how I've laid this out for you. One thing that I like in this matchup, if we're just going off numbers, and trust me, I'm well aware that a lot of these numbers are screwy because some teams are really scheduling up in November. Some teams are not playing anybody, and so you're not. I don't feel great about these numbers until middle of January, but it's all we got. So and nobody has 4 starters back from last year on their teams, so it's really the only way we can scout. And Florida State has not shot the 3 ball very well. Watkins, as I mentioned, has shot is 12 of 37 for 32%. Daquan Davis, who plays a lot of minutes for them, is 32%. Chandler Jackson is just 2 for 15. They got a couple guys off the bench who have shot it better. Justin Thomas, which name I can remember because he's a golfer, has been really good, 10 of 21. But they don't shoot it great from 3, and LSU's three-point defense, if you want to give them a lot of credit for that or not, we've had that discussion already on the show, which is some of that is chance, some of that's good defense. But if you can hold Florida State to a really poor three-point shooting night, it's tough to win on the road when you don't knock down shots. So I'm hopeful that LSU can win this game. LSU is a 3.5 point favorite depending on where you're shopping. Obviously, that number was way out of whack for LSU and Kansas State a couple of weeks ago. I don't know how much Vegas truly knows about every team in the country right now, but I feel like this is based on paper, kind of looking at returning players and production. Feels like a pretty evenly matched game, and one that LSU would do itself a lot of favors to go out there and go ahead and win. So we'll see. It'll be an 8 o'clock tip-off in the PMAC. Reminder, they've got great concessions deals between 7 and 8, so an hour before tip-off when the PMAC opens. On Tuesday nights, they've got awesome concessions deals. So get on in there a little bit early and see if LSU can't get another Power 5 when they got 2 Big 12 teams that they've beaten. They'll play 2 ACC teams coming up in Florida State and SMU. This one at home. We'll see what LSU can do in this one. Let's take a timeout. Come back and chat with Glenn West. That's next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Genesis of Baton Rouge, genesisofbatonrouge.com. When you think luxury, think Genesis of Baton Rouge. Absolutely a luxury line of vehicle, and part of that is the safety. The entire line was given the IIHA top safety picks. Some of them were top safety picks plus. So whether you're in the market for a sedan, whether you're in the market for a midsize SUV or a full-size SUV, they've got you covered at Genesis of Baton Rouge. Get on by the dealership, Airline at PQ. If you're shopping for a new car in Baton Rouge, it stands to reason you'll probably be on Airline Highway. Just make one more stop at Genesis. Tell them you heard about them on the Hunt Palmer Show. Get behind the wheel with one of their brand ambassadors and just see for yourself the style, the comfort, the sleekness. It's all fantastic there at Genesis of Baton Rouge. And don't think, well, it's a luxury vehicle. I probably can't afford that. Reasonable prices, luxury vehicles. That's the model over at Genesis. Every car on the lot is online at genesisofbatonrouge.com. Genesisofbatonrouge.com.
Bayou Ford has the new inventory to get you in a new Ford truck or SUV today, or customize your next vehicle just the way you want. All new Bayou Ford vehicles come with a 1 million mile powertrain warranty. The crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs, even in the case of an after-hours emergency. The light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial property. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana, and they're local. So call today at 293-0450 or lainsurance.net.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success.
And looking forward to 50 more.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram can get you in a new 2025 Ram 1500 truck with $15,000 off MSRP. $15,000 off the newly designed Ram 1500 truck. All new Bayou Automotive.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
I simply can't keep up with the news. It just never stops. Every time I refresh my phone, there's something else that we got to talk about or put up at LouisianaSports.net. Or it's a crazy week here in college football. The latest news: Deshaun Womack, former 5-star and defensive end who's been in Baton Rouge for 2 years, has entered his name. Well, he hasn't entered the transfer portal. He's declared that he's going to enter the transfer portal when that opens up coming up in a week. So let's talk about that with Glenn West. Go 24/7, covers LSU on the field and in recruiting. Joins us every Tuesday on the Jim's Firearms Hotline. Glenn, how are we doing?
I'm just trying to keep up, Hunt. I'm just like you, just like everybody else that covers this team. Just trying to keep up. So, yeah, another tough loss there for LSU to watch Womack enter the transfer portal.
Well, let's just talk about some of this stuff that we've seen today. The two names that we've seen enter the transfer portal that I can think of: C.J. Daniels and Deshaun Womack. Maybe there are others, but start with those two. And are those surprising? How big of losses are those for LSU moving into 2025?
Yeah, I would say certainly starting off with CJ, that is a loss. I mean, you listen to Brian Kelly literally 8 days ago say, how happy they are with him and just what he's been able to play through this year and how impactful he's been in the locker room. And here we are 8 days later, and talking about all the indications were that he was going to be back for this team in 2025, and he's expected to enter the transfer portal. So all of a sudden, this wide receiver room is just emptying by the day here. I mean, you talk about some of the players that they're going to be losing to the draft, whether it's Kyron Lacey, some of the guys they could be losing due to eligibility. And then obviously now with the transfer portal with C.J. Daniels and Landon Ibieta, those are two of the four that have entered or have gone official so far. You're looking at this roster, you're looking at this room, and you're like, okay, what's left? I mean, you've got Aaron Anderson and you've got Xavier Thomas as kind of the two primary guys that played a lot of football for you last year in that room, or I should say in 2024 in that room. So I'm looking around and I'm saying they've got to hit the transfer portal hard. They've got to go get a wide receiver one, and then they've probably also got to go get another impact wide receiver out of the portal. I think they now need at least two guys here on December 9th when this thing opens up for them to be really aggressive with and go add to this receiver room to help, whether it's Garrett Nussmeier that comes back or whoever is the quarterback next year, because right now they just do not have the guys. They have some promising young talent. They have some guys coming in, whether it's Phillip Wright or for the moment, Derek Meadows. I'm not sure that people really expect Meadows to hang around, but we're certainly in an era here where LSU has to go hit on a couple of portal wide receivers, and I think we're at the point also where LSU's got to put its money where its mouth is. Like they've lost too many guys here now to where you can realistically say, like, okay, this thing looks great right now. This looks like we're in a really strong position. They have to go out and they have to go add some really high caliber players at a number of positions, and that includes wide receiver. It now includes edge rusher. Certainly, I think you'd like to see them add some O-linemen as well. So a lot of work to be done here over the next 4 weeks to kind of make this roster a more competitive one in 2025.
The guys in front of Womack had pretty good years. Savion Jones and Braden Swinson played very well, and Deshaun Womack didn't play very much. He had 2.5 sacks in his career at LSU. How big a loss do you think that is?
Yeah, it's a loss because you're looking at the future here, and those guys kind of being out of eligibility and moving on. You figured a guy like Womack would be the successor and would start the next 1 or 2 years in that position. So certainly a loss there with Womack. He obviously is a guy with a lot of talent. Was somebody that I think was still working through stuff off the field to kind of get to a place where he could see the field a little bit more. But he's very talented. He's a big guy, and every time he did see the field, I think he made his presence felt for the most part, but he just didn't see the field all that often because you couldn't really justify taking Braden Swinson off the field to put Deshaun Womack on the field. So it's going to be very interesting to see kind of where LSU goes from here. I know things seem dark and bleak right now because this is kind of the time where everybody's leaving, and it's like, what's the plan? How are they going to go out and they're going to address these things? I will say, like, I think we need to hold off total judgment until kind of this month finishes out and just kind of see who they bring in, who they have to replace those guys. I'm looking at the current roster right now. Gabe Relaford makes a ton of sense as a guy that needs to be developed and stick around and be a potential starter next year at one of those edge position players. But they certainly have to go add, at least 1 or 2 more guys now on the edge, in addition to what you have to go get at receiver, at, running back, at cornerback, at safety. I mean, there's a lot of positions right now that I think LSU is going to need to attack in the portal, and we'll see if they can be as aggressive as Brian Kelly seems to think they will be.
Do you think Brian Kelly's philosophy on program and roster building has changed over the last 2 months? Because, I mean, he talked routinely about how we're going to do this from the high school ranks.
Yeah, I don't know how it can't, or how it. I mean, just by what they've lost here over the last couple weeks. I mean, not even just the last couple months, but just the last couple weeks here. You've watched the number one quarterback leave your class. You've watched, now a top 5 cornerback at 2 positions of need that you need for this future of this roster. They've gone and taken some money from other programs. We could certainly see some more movement here over the next 24 hours with more guys potentially leaving, guys that you're hoping can stick around in this class. So I do. I think that they've had to maybe have some of those tough conversations the last couple of weeks about how they want to approach this thing, and it's going to be interesting what they decide. I mean, like they don't have a lot of avenues right now to improve from a freshman class standpoint. There's Solomon Thomas, the offensive lineman, who's out there. You've got Jakeem Stewart, the defensive lineman out of St. Aug, or I should say Carr. But those are kind of the big 2 that I think are left from a freshman perspective, and they would fill positions of need for sure. But you've got to go out and you've got to get some veteran experienced talent that's played at the Power 5 level. And I think Brian Kelly's been hesitant to pour all those resources into that angle of this, but when you're pouring all your resources for an entire year, bringing Cade Phillips and Bryce Underwood to campus 8, 9, 10 times, and then the 11th hour to see those guys go to different programs, it's got to be crushing. I mean, it's really got to be a huge blow to what you're trying to build here. So I think they have to have a little bit of that mind shift change here, where it's got to be a free agency, and you've got to go out and you've got to go get guys on a 1-year, 2-year rental and try to compete year in, year out in that kind of structure.
What did you think when Brian Kelly said that there are going to be some impact guys that are going to announce that they're coming back to LSU? What did that trigger in your mind?
Yeah, I think that there's some cases that can be made now. Certainly some money is freeing up here as guys kind of leave the program for you to maybe make some of that retention cases a little bit stronger. I know that there's conversations going on right now with Emory Jones about maybe possibly getting him back. I think that would be a huge addition. Certainly Garrett Nussmeier is a guy that we've talked about. You have to get back. I mean, like, I don't know if there's a really great option out there, even if you go in the portal and say that, like, this quarterback's definitely better than Garrett Nussmeier. Like, I think that they need him back, and they need a year of development from him to really be a complete offense next year. And then the other one's Mason Taylor. I mean, I think that's, kind of reaching for the fences a little bit there with Mason, but if you can put together a compelling enough offer to bring him back for his senior season, he was the guy that Nussmeier leaned on in pretty much every reliable circumstance this year. It was him and Aaron Anderson that he really looked to on those 3rd downs, those 4th downs, every time they needed a big conversion. So if you're able to convert or get Mason Taylor back in the fold, that's extra gravy on top there for retention standpoint. But those are kind of the 3 that stick out to me right now. I'm sure if we kind of dive into this further a little bit down the line, there might be a couple other guys that rise to the surface in terms of retention. But those are kind of the 3 main impact guys that I think come to mind from an offensive perspective.
Yeah, I mean, I was thinking Harold Perkins. I was thinking potentially Chris Hilton, who has another year, and I mean, there are others, and you just kind of figure out what those guys' plans are. The only thing that the most difficult part when I consider this from the outside, because I don't know what the conversations are like. You just have to hope, if you are a coach, that at least high schoolers and players in your team are being truthful with you. And if they are and they make a decision, you can react to that. But if you get caught off guard, which I'm assuming happens sometimes, like, that's tough to recover from, because you can only take someone on their word.
Absolutely. I mean, like the thing that Brian Kelly was talking about with CJ Daniels 8 days ago. I don't know what's changed there over the last 8 days, but it seems like that was a pretty reverse course there of thinking in terms of what's gone on the last week plus. So yeah, I mean, I'm curious to hear, like, what's your thoughts on, like, the transfer, like the freshmen and the transfers and all that stuff. I'm sure you've gotten into it a little bit with your show here, but just, like, it's got to be so crushing when you recruit a guy for over a year as a high schooler, and then at the 11th hour for you to lose him because of something that's out of your control in terms of just other programs paying them more money. Like, I think it has to kind of alter your line of thinking of how you build rosters going forward, correct?
Yeah, I mean, it's year to year. I mean, it's just a 1 year. Sure. Just because you get a high school player, well, we got him locked in for 3 years. No, you got him in for a fall. You got him for 4 months. So that's what you've got to consider there. And so You got to allocate money, and everybody's got a different amount of resources. One of the things I talked about yesterday, I have a hard time really jumping all over LSU's coaching staff if you're getting commitments from players and then they leave for money and you're not allowed. Like, if you want to blame the ownership of the Yankees for not signing Juan Soto, well, it's their money. It's not Brian Kelly's money. Like, he can only offer what is available to him. So it's hard for me to get on the coach or the staff when guys decommit and go elsewhere, because there's very little he can do to control that.
Yeah. I mean, it's a relationship business until somebody throws a big pile of money at a player that they just can't say no to. So, I mean, like, it's getting to a point here where, rev sharing can't get here soon enough, but at the same time, what's to keep this from still happening even when rev sharing does get here? Like, I've always looked at rev sharing is like a thing that will help with player retention. It'll help maybe with some portal guys, but for those freshmen and for those high school recruits that you're trying to get in here, there's nothing that can stop an outside endorsement or a donor to come out and throw a big pile of money at a player and tell them that it's a piece of the future kind of thing here, where you can come in and be marketable as a player. So it's very, very different times we're living in here, and these next 24 hours, 48 hours for sure are going to be really interesting to see how this 2025 class plays out.
Tell me what you think about tonight in the PMAC, LSU and Florida State.
Yeah, big time opportunity for Matt McMahon's crew. Certainly, you look at kind of the first half and second half disparity of scoring. Florida State's a team that turns opponents over, top 5 in the country. So LSU's going to have to be able to hold on to the ball, get good shot creation. I think their creators, in particular, Jordan Sears and Cam Carter, those guys are going to have to stay out of foul trouble to really give LSU a good shot in this one. But I think that they've played with a lot of aggression and have been a lot more physical offensively with the ball here the last couple of weeks. And I really like kind of the direction they're going in. And this would be another big staple moment for Matt McMahon's crew if they're able to get this win.
We'll see you in the PMAC tonight. Thanks, Glenn.
All right. Thanks.
Glenn
Sorry
West.
for the outside stuff.
You're all good.
You probably hear that coming through.
It's all good. Glenn West, senior writer over at Go 24/7. With us every single Tuesday, and he'll be all over this, all the things that are going on in LSU's football program right now, and certainly will be in the PMAC tonight for LSU and Florida State. We'll come back and close out hour number 1. I got a thought on the college football playoff. We'll do that next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
One Bath and Closets. OneBathAndClosets.com is the website. David Duvall and his team, 30 years redesigning and remodeling bathrooms and closets. If you haven't thought about closet space, or you're not happy with your closet space in your current house, you don't have to move like we did to enhance your closet situation. You can just customize a closet to your exact specifications. I can see a lot of folks that don't have quite enough room. They got a suitcase, maybe it doesn't fit. They got to put it upstairs. They don't have enough room for their coats, so those have to go into another room. It's just a mess. Use that space more efficiently, or create a whole new custom space. With David Duvall and his team, it'll look fantastic, and it'll function exactly the way that you want it to. If you're concerned about paying for it, they've got financing options available. 0% for 18 months if you qualify. It's all online at OneBathAndClosets.com. You can start with that free consultation with David and his team today. Do it. It's One Bath and Closets. OneBathAndClosets.com.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram can get you in a new 2025 Ram 1500 truck with $15,000 off MSRP. $15,000 off the newly designed Ram 1500 truck. All new Bayou Automotive vehicles come with a complimentary 7-year powertrain warranty. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
The Windsor Senior Living Community in Mandeville, Louisiana is a beautiful, vibrant apartment community geared toward seniors. They are nestled right in the heart of Mandeville, where seniors live a more carefree lifestyle in spacious apartments with the peace of mind that comes from having a little extra help. Call the Windsor at 985-624-8040 to schedule a lunch and tour. Come see how the Windsor can be your passport to peace of mind.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps are held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
Breck teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered. Gold. Breck, your #1 park system in the nation.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs, even in the case of an after-hours emergency. The light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
All right, closing up hour number 1. Still plenty to do in hour number 2 here on this Tuesday. Busy Tuesday here. Already talked a lot about LSU and the recruiting front, Cade Phillips' decommitment, and what things are looking like tomorrow. We'll do that more in hour number 2 with Sonny Shipp of 24/7 Sports. Got a basketball preview in a little bit earlier, and Glenn West good enough to hop on there during a busy time for him as well. Look, and we'll get to Will Campbell declaring for the draft and what the draft decisions are to come. But tonight, the college football rankings, and these are the first ones that I would consider significant because most teams aren't playing this weekend. I shouldn't say. There are a lot of teams most teams that are playing this weekend feel like they're already in the power conferences. And then you've got teams that are on the outside looking in that can't play in these games that would like to get into the playoff. Basically 3 teams from the SEC and Alabama, Ole Miss, and South Carolina. And they'll be kind of monitoring what goes on with SMU and what goes on in the and so I think it's interesting to see how those teams will stack up. And I also was looking at those 3 teams based on resume and kind of considering how I would stack them. And I don't have a strong criteria. The only thing I reject is that we have to go based on 1-loss record. Now, you got to be careful when you're evaluating the 1-loss record because not every win is equal and not every loss is equal. But I reject the notion that just because SMU went 11-1, that they're automatically in over the 3 SEC teams. I do not see it that way. So if they lose, I want to have that discussion. I don't want to just go, 11-1, just like Texas went 11-1, they lost, they're in. SMU went 11-1. I want to vet that out a little bit further. And you can't just look at head-to-head. And I know that's a big detractor from the South Carolina resume, but I also think it should be kind of how you've played. And South Carolina's losses are significantly better than Ole Miss's losses. I mean, you've got an Ole Miss loss at home to Kentucky, who's one of the worst teams in the league. Alabama goes up and is just non-competitive with Oklahoma. Like, that should matter. And I'm not telling you I would definitely put South Carolina over them, but I'm willing to look at it even though those 2 teams beat South Carolina. I think the entirety of the body of work needs to speak. And I would love to be in that room to kind of have that full subjective conversation. When we turn it objective into you're 11-1, you're 11-2, you're 9-3. Like, that's when I start to push back, because not all 9-3s are the same as the same. And I want to see who you beat. Mostly I want to see how good is your good. And then I do want to weigh in how bad some of your losses are. And I think eye test and all that stuff matters. And we've got room to get some good teams in. And I'm just curious to see how it shakes out tonight. Because tonight will tell us the story, in my opinion, of the 3 SEC teams and how they stack up. And you got Alabama coming off an okay performance, Ole Miss coming off an okay performance, and South Carolina going on the road and beating Clemson. So I think it's interesting to pay attention to those three as we get into championship weekend. All right, we'll take a timeout for Sports Center. If you missed any of the first hour today, you can catch it on demand. 1045ESPN.com's on demand tab, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google. Wherever you find your sound, you can always find us. Open things up with Will Campbell's. Open things up with Cade Phillips' decision today to decommit from LSU. We talked some hoops, talked to Glenn West. You can find all that on demand. Hour number 2 is coming up after Sports Center. We will start with draft decisions for LSU. Will Campbell's made his. There are more to come. What I think is coming in those. Sonny Shipp is going to be with us to talk some recruiting. We'll also talk Saints with Sheree Aishack. Hope your work week's off to a good start. We'll step away for Sports Center. We'll come back with a second hour of The Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Highland Insurance Group, HighlandIG.com is the website. Jonathan Carbo and his team, fantastic to work with. They do commercial property and casualty insurance, as well as group and employee benefits. As far as PNC goes, I know in my experience in insurance, a lot of business owners don't know a ton about what their insurance program says. They know what the premium is. They know how much comes out each month, but they don't know about the coverages. And the time to understand that is on the front end, not after the hurricane, not after the cyber breach, not after the bad car accident. And then you got to go in and what are the exclusions? What are my limits here? What do I owe? What's my deductible? And if you don't know that, you can start to scramble a little bit. And that's the spot you don't want to be in. Trust your insurance broker to put your business in the right place. They will do that at the Highland Insurance Group. Jonathan Carbone's team right here in Baton Rouge. Check him out online, HighlandIG.com.
Looking for the ultimate game day experience? Come to the Queen Casino in Baton Rouge. Savor game day platters and snacks, plus drink specials at 1717 Kitchen and Cocktail. So come out for game day and let our team make you the MVP. The Queen Casino, where every moment is a win.
The best kept secret in town is out. Discover Tallulah at the Renaissance Hotel on Bluebonnet.
Bayou Ford has the new inventory to get you in a new Ford truck or SUV today, or customize your next vehicle just the way you want it. All new Bayou Ford vehicles come with a 1 million mile powertrain warranty. The crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial property. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana, and they're local. So call today at 293-0450 or lainsurance.net.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success.
And looking forward to 50 more.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way.
This is SportsCenter.
I'm Christine Lisi. Texans linebacker Azeez Al-Shaair suspended 3 games by the NFL for repeated violations of player safety rules. Suspension announced 2 days after Al-Shaair's hit to the head of Jacksonville quarterback Trevor Lawrence, who suffered a concussion as a result. The NFL sending a clear message to Al-Shaair, points out unsportsmanlike co-host Chris Canty.
You embarrassed everyone, not just yourself. You embarrassed your head coach. You embarrassed your teammates. You embarrassed the Jacksonville Jaguars. You embarrassed the NFL. And now we're going to take you to task for that. We're going to sit you down. And it could cost your team dearly as they're trying to hang on to pole position in the AFC South.
Houston leads that division by 2 games on Indianapolis. Al-Shaair will appeal the decision. Steelers pass rusher Alex Highsmith expected to return from an ankle injury against the Browns Sunday. Receiver Calvin Austin III is in concussion protocol. Baseball, ESPN's Jeff Passan reports the Red Sox and lefty reliever Aroldis Chapman agreed on a 1-year, $10 million contract. Boston went into this offseason prioritizing late-inning left-handed help.
Hey, it's Evan Cohen. Coming up Wednesday, the great Mel Kiper Jr. joins us at 8:30 a.m. Eastern to look ahead to the conference championship games. It's Unsportsmanlike, weekday morning, 6 a.m. Eastern, right here on ESPN Radio, ESPN2, and ESPNU.
Now, the Hunt Palmer Show.
Yes! I feel like I've been waiting for this my entire life.
You're listening to the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Jolly good fun. Jolly good.
Locking down the middle of the day.
America's favorite daytime fun show.
Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio. This is Hunt Palmer.
Hour number 2, Tuesday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. Hope your work week's off to a good start. Appreciate you hanging out with us here on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Been a busy news day for LSU football. Just got word that Jordan Allen, safety from Lafayette, has been on campus for a couple of years. Started 2 games this year before missing the end of the season with injury. He will enter the transfer portal as well. Joins Deshaun Womack, who made that decision. C.J. Daniels, who made that decision. So we'll see if there is more to come on that front. Cade Phillips, of course, flipped from LSU to Texas earlier today. You can read about all that, by the way, at LouisianaSports.net. I want to talk in this segment about the NFL draft because earlier today, Will Campbell made his intentions clear that he will enter the NFL draft. It did not include LSU's bowl game. Whether or not he was going to play or wasn't going to play, my assumption is that he will not be playing. But he's not going to be playing on LSU's next football team. He will be a first-round selection, very likely, in the coming NFL draft. And Campbell is a story that you just don't see a lot. He showed up in the spring, and within 2 weeks was named the left tackle in the spring of his freshman year. Supposed to still be in high school. They named the left tackle. And he started every game, 38 in a row for LSU at left tackle before his sophomore season, was given the number 7 for most impactful player from the state of Louisiana. He was a 5-star when he came in. He's going to be a first-rounder when he comes out. And he was an excellent player for LSU for 3 seasons. I know that a lot of LSU fans are frustrated with LSU's inability to run the ball a lot this year. I can promise you Will Campbell was not the root of that problem. Will Campbell is a really good player, and he will be taken early in the NFL draft. A great Tiger, great leader, great quote in the interview room for us, and is a guy that will be missed, certainly moving forward. But he's not the only guy that's got a decision to make. His, I think, was the easiest, but not the only guy. And there is a story up that I wrote at LouisianaSports.net where I looked at the top 5 guys that I think have a decision to make, and I made a projection on what I think they will do. Keep in mind, I don't pretend to have some sort of inside source here. I have not had any conversations with anybody, and I'm not going to make up like I do. That's not what I'm here for. If I hear something that's reasonable to report or talk about here, I'll let you know that I had a conversation there. That's more often going to happen on the baseball side of things than it does here. But this is just my guess based on situation and just, kind of taking all that in and projecting. The first guy, it's not a question at all, is Garrett Nussmeier. He is the most important in this group. He just posted the 3rd most prolific passing season in LSU history. 64% of his passes completed, over 3,700 yards, 26 touchdowns. Yes, 11 interceptions, a little bit costly, but he didn't throw a single interception in his last 3 games, and LSU really, really badly would like him back in the fold next year. Garrett Nussmeier is a good enough quarterback to compete for championships at LSU. And I say that with an understanding that there's development and growth that has to happen. There have been plenty of guys under center at LSU in the last 25 years who haven't even had the ceiling to get to that level. Nussmeier does. And I think it's reasonable to expect a guy with that kind of work ethic, that kind of understanding of the position, and a year starting under his belt to improve. I'm not saying it's got to look like Burrow in year 2 as a starter. It's got to look like Daniels in year 2 as a starter. But I think it could look very much like Mettenberger in year 2 as a starter. And I think he's going to come back. I just don't think he's going to be rushed to the NFL. When I was covering LSU day to day, there was an offensive lineman who was rushed to the NFL by his family, and it didn't work out. And that's never going to be the situation with Nussmeier. Obviously, his dad's gainfully employed. His dad understands how difficult that position is at that level. He's coached at the highest level at college and the highest level in the NFL. And I just don't think Garrett's going to be rushed out. Now, if he makes the decision, I've had enough, that's one thing, but I just don't think that's going to happen. I think Garrett Nussmeier will be back at LSU next year. That is my prediction on him. Number 2 is a name that we've heard a lot of rumors about over the last 2.5 weeks, and that is Emory Jones. He has started all but 2 games in his 3 seasons at LSU. He did not start the Florida State game, and then last year he missed the Army game with injury. But he's been at the right tackle the entirety of that run, and he's played very, very well. I think if Emory Jones went to the NFL draft this spring, he would be a day 2 pick. I think he would probably go in the middle of the 2nd round. That's my guess. I think there's a chance he can improve that. I think there's a chance he's a guard. I think there's a chance he could play left tackle for LSU next year. I think there are some real variables there with Emory Jones. And so, do you want to come back and move positions? Do you just want to continue to develop under Brad Davis? Do you want to go get that reasonably early draft pick and go play in the NFL? I think any of those make a lot of sense for Emory Jones. I think 2 months ago it was a foregone conclusion he would go. I think he's going to stay. I am going to project that Emory Jones returns to LSU to play. So that's Nussmeier and Jones, the top 2 guys on my list. I think those are top 2 guys for a reason. Quarterback, most important position. Offensive line, it looks like there's a ton of potential turnover there. I'd rather try to soften that blow a little bit. Number 3 on this list, super productive. Mason Taylor, tight end. He's actually the most productive tight end in the history of LSU. He was inserted in the starting lineup in game 2 of his freshman season, never left the lineup. He's caught 129 passes for 1,300 yards, both of those LSU tight end records. He's scored 6 touchdowns through the air. When you think of the great tight ends in LSU history, you will think of David LaFleur, whose son gets here next year. You will think of Richard Dixon, who works with us here on England 8.1 Game Day. And you'll think of Mason Taylor. And he's got the size, the route running ability, the hands. I think he's ready to play in the NFL right now. And he was actually asked that a couple months ago, and he said, yeah, I think I could do it. And certainly his dad knows a thing or two about playing on the edge of the line of scrimmage in that league. He's in the Hall of Fame. I don't think Mason Taylor will be rushed out of college either. It'll be a decision that's his as well. But I think that there's very little left for Mason Taylor to prove. So unless he just wants to come back and play, I think Mason Taylor is a day 2 draft pick, and I think he's going to enter the NFL draft. That's my guess on Mason Taylor. Harold Perkins. He was on a lot of first-round lists as of September, and that's really not the case anymore. He wasn't productive through a month, didn't have a sack, had a tackle and a half for loss. That's not necessarily all his fault, surely. But nobody's really figured out quite how to use Harold Perkins here at LSU through 2.5 seasons. Then he tears his ACL, and he doesn't have a chance to continue to develop. So what do you want to do? Do you want to just get in there and rely on your athleticism, some team to fall in love with you and try to find a spot? Do you want to come back to LSU and develop as a linebacker? Do you want to come back to LSU and play more on the line of scrimmage? Do you want to enter the transfer portal? There are plenty of things that they're there for Harold Perkins. I think that he has an opportunity to go from what feels like a second, third round pick right now into the top 20 picks. You've got to prove that you can use that athleticism to do great things on the field with the pass rushing ability and the coverage ability and the productivity and play a little bit better in the run game. But I think if he does that on tape in college, he's got a real chance to improve that draft stock. And I think that's what he's going to do. The question is it at LSU or is it in the transfer portal? Because he will command a large sum of money in the transfer portal. Somebody will turn that tape on from Arkansas 2 years ago, from Alabama 2 years ago. First drive against USC this year, he comes flying off the edge and gets a TFL. And they'll pay big for him. And LSU would have to as well to keep him around. I'm going to project right now he stays at LSU, but that's far from a sure thing. I'll take Harold Perkins back at LSU. And the last guy I've got on this list, number 5, is Chris Hilton. Now, Chris Hilton's been in college for 4 years, but he's got a redshirt year. Got hurt. He's dealt with injuries his entire time in Baton Rouge, and that's super frustrating. I get that. But he showed on Saturday what he can bring to an offense. That deep threat is real. Now, if he wants to go to the NFL draft and run at the combine and run the 4.28 or whatever that he might run, which is possible, he could get somebody to take him there in the 4th, 5th round, I'm sure, because that speed is legit. But there's no real productivity in college yet. And I'm not ready to rule out that he can do that because I saw in the fall that he looked great. And then you saw on Saturday what he could do. And he really unlocked a piece to the LSU offense that wasn't there all year long. And he's got to stay healthy. He's not proven he can do that. He had an injury his freshman season, missed the last 10 games of 2022, missed first 7 games of this year. Like, injuries have been a bad deal for him. But he's got a lot of ability. Now, you look at LSU's wide receiver room. C.J. Daniels is gone. Kyron Lacey's gone. And then you look at Aaron Anderson and Xavier Thomas figure to be back, and Kyle Parker should return from injury. But you don't have a lot of proven production there. Chris Hilton can help with that. I don't know if he's a number 1 wide receiver at this point, but he can help. I don't think he's going to go to the draft. I think a guy with those kind of physical tools, if you could put another year of production behind those tools and let NFL teams know that you can stay healthy and do it for a year, I think that things could turn around for him and that he could be an earlier draft pick next year. My gut tells me probably a portal candidate, Chris Hilton. I'd love to see him back because I really thought he was great in the fall. And I think that he's got, well, I say the fall, in August, which is not really the fall. I thought he was great in camp. And I think he's got a chance to be an impactful player. We'll see. Transfer portal will be available to Chris Hilton. We'll see if he decides to jump that direction. Those are my thoughts. I've got Garrett Nussmeier coming back to LSU. I've got Emory Jones coming back to LSU. I got Mason Taylor going to the NFL draft. Harold Perkins returning to LSU, and Chris Hilton in the transfer portal. But that could be 0 for 5 because, like I said, I don't know anything. Just my 2 cents on it. Beck, you're listening to all that. What did you make of these guys and their decisions and how big that is for LSU?
Yeah, it's obviously really big, man. I feel like Garrett Nussmeier is if he looks back at Joe Burrow and Jaden Daniels and see the path that they took in their first year starting and how they played, and he can see that I could follow the same path that they took. Now, of course, I don't know that you can compare the situations apples to apples because the weapons that both guys had Both guys had 2 NFL receivers that, all of them are playing at a really high level right now in the NFL. I'm not sure that Garrett Nussmeier is going to have that next year.
Yeah.
So that is something probably to weigh as well. Not to mention, obviously C.J. Daniels going to the transfer portal, not necessarily to say that he might come back. He could still come back, but it doesn't look as bright in terms of the weapons and also the offensive line, losing, Will Campbell. So he may say, looking at the situation, it's not great. So I'm just going to go take my chance in the draft. But if you lose Garrett Nussmeier, you're in a serious jam there, because then you've got to probably go get a guy out of the transfer portal.
You got to do that anyway. But if you lose Nussmeier, you're in big trouble.
You're in big trouble. Yeah.
So it's I look again. I don't want y'all driving around and listening, or those that are tuning in on YouTube, to look at this and go, "Oh, he's talking to somebody like this is what's going to happen." Those could all be wrong, but I'm here to give an opinion, and that's my opinion on those situations, and most of it is rooted in situation, not rumor or internet speculation or all that kind of stuff. I just think it's situation. So we'll see, but it's a lot. We may not find out these answers for a little while, because you don't have to declare for the draft for some time. Keep in mind that generally was very much a January discussion, and we're now talking about it in early December here, the third day of December. So the calendar's just accelerated a lot in terms of roster building inside college football. So those are my thoughts. You can read more about that on LouisianaSports.net. Speaking of LouisianaSports.net, I highly suggest y'all check it out. It's completely free. Mobile site can crank up. Got an LSU transfer portal tracker that's on the top of the page right now. Got a story on Will Campbell, my pregame story for LSU Florida State, story on Cade Phillips. We've also got some stories about some SEC transfers, specifically one in Jakeem Jackson, who is transferring out of Florida, that could be a guy that LSU targets. He signed with Corey Raymond at Florida a couple of years ago. So lots and lots up there at LouisianaSports.net, and we'll have you posted on it consistently as things continue to develop. It's a busy week, and again, there's a lot of sites with paywalls. This one's free as they can be. You can just check it out right there on the mobile site or your desktop, LouisianaSports.net. We come back. Sonny Shipp, Go 24/7, is going to join us, talk about all this madness. That's next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Genesis of Baton Rouge, genesisofbatonrouge.com. Every car that is on the lot at Genesis of Baton Rouge is online at genesisofbatonrouge.com. How does this sound? 10 years, 100,000-mile warranty. Something happens to the vehicle that you're driving, you're going, am I still under warranty? If you got a 10-year, 100,000-mile warranty, you're probably still under warranty. And how about this? You get 3 years complimentary maintenance on your Genesis. 3 years. Oil changes, air filters, 3 years complimentary maintenance. And you don't even have to go to the dealership to make that happen. Instead, they can come to you. They'll pick your car up. They'll leave you with a Genesis, drive your car to the dealership, handle all the maintenance, drive it right back. Can't be any easier. Can't be any more convenient. It's part of the experience of driving a Genesis. If you're on Airline Highway, across from Women's Hospital, right there at Piku, stop in. See the incredible facility. Check out this fantastic line of vehicles. When you think Genesis, think luxury. When you think luxury, think Genesis of Baton Rouge. GenesisofBatonRouge.com.
There it is, the extra mile. On the border of expected and extraordinary. For those willing to go further. Like vans customized for work or play. With safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team. And backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Breck teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered. Gold. Breck. your #1 park system in the nation.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial property. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana, and they're local. So call today at 293-0450 or lainsurance.net.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
All right, Sheree Aishack talking Saints in about 10 minutes. Just a lot going on that we're trying to stick with here on this Tuesday. Transfer portal is abuzz. National Signing Day for the high schoolers tomorrow, and I would imagine there's just going to be a lot of fireworks because that's the way this thing is trending. You got folks just sending out flips left and right today. LSU, of course, was on the wrong side of one of those a little bit earlier. Losing a very talented and 5-star defensive back in Cade Phillips, who switched from Texas to LSU just months after switching from Texas to LSU. So it's just been a lot of craziness and a lot of folks all over it, and certainly one of those is Sonny Shipp from Go 24/7, good enough to give us a little bit of time when I know that his phone's probably abuzz. Sonny, how we doing?
Good, man. How about you, brother?
I'm trying to keep up is really all we're trying to do at this point. It's just it is a lot. So let's kind of get your overarching thoughts on this 3-day span here between the dead period and signing day, and just how wild this is getting behind the scenes.
Oh man, yeah. It's I think when you look at it from an LSU perspective right now, you're just like, man, we're not even treading water right now. First you had Bryce Underwood. Of course, you had Cade Phillips this morning. And that deal is quite a blow because, I think when you looked at this class, you could always point to wow, you got the best cornerback haul in the country. All of a sudden, it goes now from looking great on paper to just looking really good. And I think just the overall perception right now is just LSU really needs some good news to come along the way. And hopefully they'll get some, hopefully Solomon Thomas, the 5-star offensive lineman committed to Florida State, hopefully he'll go ahead and make that flip.
As far as why LSU is not getting good news to this point, is it do you feel like they're just getting outbid here?
Man, I think you have certain cases like that, and I think you also, it's kind of hard to look. You look at a situation like Cade Phillips, and you say, okay, could LSU come up with that money if they really wanted Cade Phillips? I think the answer would absolutely be yes. I think what separates LSU from some other schools is LSU can only do that with one, maybe 2 types of players. Because of the resources that they currently have right now to use compared to some of the other schools they're going against, like the Texas, the Oregons, the Michigans of the world, and that certainly provides a little bit of a hindrance. And then you have Brian Kelly, who you run into a situation to where, okay, you've got X amount of money right here. Do you give it to a guy who may be able to help you next year, but really his money year of being able to really come off and pay off that investment is going to be his sophomore year? Or do you take some of that money, go get make sure you've got DJ Pickett locked up, and then maybe take that and use it towards somebody in the transfer portal? So I don't think it's always a question of whether or not LSU could come up with that money. I think it's just more of a situation to where, you can, but how many situations are there like that where you can? Even Texas, look at Texas, Texas ran into that over the summer to where they lost to Corey and Moore to Oregon, and that was a situation to where they were just, if you believe all the reports and what those, closer to the scene talk, say, and that's just, that Texas just hit a point to where, okay, we're not going above that.
And it's an interesting spot because if you're LSU and you've got this pile of money, you've got these high school kids that have to sign tomorrow. And then you don't know who's going to be in the portal until next week. So, you're just assuming that there are plenty of guys out there that'll be interested that you can pull in, but you don't really have all the information right now, which is a tenuous spot to be in.
Yeah, it's a tenuous spot to be in. And I think that's where, if you're LSU, the fortunate thing that you have going for you is that you have that LSU brand, to where you have that to where, you've still got a lot of kids out there and a lot of coaches out there that when LSU comes calling, that's one of those that kind of makes you say, whoa, And so LSU does have that on its side. I just think that the biggest thing is that, obviously, from the NIL angle and the NIL perspective, everybody reaches a point to where they have where that I guess that line is that they can't go above. And I think when you look at it from LSU's perspective, it's going to help when that rev share comes. When that rev share starts later on for the 2025 and 2026 season. But the only problem with that then is that a recruitment like Cade Phillips, let's just say you believe the reports out there and Texas gave him $1 million, a one-year deal for $1 million. Let's just say you believe that. All that's going to happen when the rev share comes in is next year, that $1 million deal for Cade Phillips, market value on that's going to be $2 million because there's not going to be any enforcement, any kind of regulations, and it's just going to be and the Wild West is going to continue to be the Wild West.
That's kind of the way I feel about it as well. You look at LSU's class right now, 24 hard commitments. We've certainly heard rumors about Derek Meadows. You got Keelan Moses as well. How confident are you that the guys who are committed right now are going to ink tomorrow?
Out of the 24 right now, I think Derek Meadows signs with Bama. I think Mike Tyler, the tight end out of South Carolina, right there in Columbia, I think he signs with South Carolina. And I think LSU gets Solomon Thomas, and that would put him at 23. My gut still tells me that Jakeem Stewart's headed out west to USC. So right now I've got them finishing the day with 23. And then if you drop Meadows and Tyler out of the equation and you add Solomon Thomas into the class calculator, that puts LSU right around that 6 to 7 range that they finished the last couple of, the last 2 years under Brian Kelly. And so, while I think certainly the finish is going to leave a bad taste in people's mouth just because of the players that they lost and how highly regarded that they were. But then I think, when you step back in 2 years, 3 years from now, when you pull up those classes and see, how high that 2025 class was, you'll be like, oh, wow, Kelly had another, top 7 class. He never did that at Notre Dame.
Any concern with DJ Pickett? I know everybody's got catastrophe syndrome at the moment, so I figured I'd ask.
Yeah, and that was one to where, like from talking to folks, it was like, okay, you're going to bed tonight feeling like LSU is still in a good place. But then it's like one of those things when you wake up, you start thinking about work and you're like, oh man, I wonder if they still feel good about Pickett, just because I think you just have that level of uncertainty that comes with, that comes with someone of that magnitude. And then also when you consider the hits that LSU has had recently in losing, 2 other 5-stars in this class with the Underwood and the Phillips decommitment. So, and I think that's going to be another one where you just, you go to bed tonight and you wake up tomorrow morning just hoping that you don't hear anything else. But, I think as of right now, I think LSU would rather be where they are than anywhere, than anyone else in the equation. And then you mentioned Keelan Moses and, of course, his visit to Texas A&M over the weekend, the back and forth between some fans on Twitter or X or whatever you want to call it now. But, from talking to folks, it seems like everything's fine now and stuff, and that I think that he'll sign with LSU. Another guy to keep an eye on would be Walter Mathis, the 3-star defensive lineman out of Georgia. He's still got some people kind of after him. Jaden Breaker, the linebacker out of Georgia, Auburn and South Carolina are both, and Georgia Tech are both really on to him right now, trying to get him to reconsider his options. So, you've always got some of those things that are going down at the last minute, and unfortunately, it's an element that you really can't track when it comes to recruiting because nobody wants to talk about money these days. You call somebody, you start asking like, oh, well, how much is this school trying to give you? Like, man, who the hell do you think you are?
Yeah. It's crazy, but I know y'all are on top of it. Tell everybody what y'all got going this evening and then tomorrow on 24/7.
Yeah, tons of recruiting. Obviously, our YouTube channel's got we'll have a signing day show from 9 to 4 Central Time. All day tomorrow. Obviously, we'll have a ton of stuff on the site for you, right? 50% off for an annual subscription. So a lot of things going on. Come check us out.
Appreciate you, Sonny. Try to get some sleep tonight. I know it'll be a busy one tomorrow.
Appreciate you, man, and just holler, my man.
Sure will. That's Sonny Shipp. Go 24/7 over there with 24 Sports. He's the man. Been in the business a long, long time, and appreciate him giving us a little bit of time before he gets right on back to work, I would imagine. So we'll take a time out, come back and talk some Saints with Sheree Aishack. That is next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Make LeBear's Baton Rouge your game day headquarters this season. Got to watch all the games on their giant screen TVs. Tackle the area's best game day food and beverages with all your friends. Get in on all the football and basketball action this winter with Penn Play and ESPN Bet. Penn's online sportsbook now live in Louisiana. Score big this season at LeBear's Baton Rouge. However you want to play. Must be 21 years or older. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-522-4700 for help.
When you can't rely on technology, you can rely on Mountain Cold Refreshment.
Dave's back on.
Coors Light. Choose chill.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime during this challenging event. And we're right there with you. Our mobile banking app is a smart way to manage your money and time. Gulf Coast Bank and Trust, the bank that cares about you.
At Ochsner, we know healing is a team sport. That's why we've partnered with world-renowned orthopedic surgeon Dr. James Andrews to create the Ochsner Andrews Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Institute. Whether you're a professional athlete or a weekend warrior, our team of specialists are dedicated to getting you back in the game. So whatever your reasons are for reaching your personal best, we've only got one. You. Ochsner Andrews Institute. Long live you.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com.
Hunt Palmer, lover of LSU, Shreveport, and mayonnaise on hot dogs. The Hunt Palmer Show.
Well, the Pelicans don't win a lot. Saints didn't win. It's just not a great time down in the Big Easy when it comes to sports, outside of Tulane, who then didn't get it done in their opportunity. So really just not a lot of great stuff in the 504. But Sharif's great, and he's in the 504, so we'll bring him on now via the Jim's Firearms Hotline. Sharif, how are we doing?
I'm in mourning, Hunt. I'm in mourning.
You're in
4 hours
mourning?
tall, glass, mug for the Pluckers. I'm sad.
Yeah, I'm sad too. Got the news, and for those that missed this, unfortunately, Pluckers closed their 2 locations here in Baton Rouge over the weekend, and obviously, I've been doing trivia there for 10 years, and have had a great relationship with the whole crew over there at Pluckers, and have loved my Tuesdays over there, and obviously we're a great partner here of the show as well. So it's a bummer to hear that they closed their doors, but a lot of great memories at Pluckers for sure.
Yeah. I was coming up tonight to go to the Florida State game, a few of us, and I was like, yeah, we're going to stop at Pluckers. And no, we're not.
No, you will not. You can go there, but there's not going to be anybody there. So, but you're going to come to the Florida State game? You coming as a fan, or are you covering it?
Covering as a fan. A few of us are coming up, like 4 of us to come to watch the game. One of the guys at WWL went to Florida State, so we're coming up to watch it together.
Nice. Should be a good one. 8 o'clock tip in the PMAC. If y'all are looking for a preview of it, you can catch it in the first hour or in my Hoops with Hunt feed. And it'll be a little bit later on today. All right, let's talk some Saints. I want to talk specifically about Taysom Hill. Personally, when he was carted off the field on Sunday, I looked at that and I went, that's a guy that might not need to come back and play any more football. Just watching what his body in his mid-30s went through this year, the physical type of play. I mean, I love watching it, but it just seems like a lot. What's your read on Taysom's future?
I think a lot of people would say the same thing as you, but Taysom being Taysom probably wants to continue to play. I mean, the way he got hurt was probably on par for the type of play that he's getting hurt on, fighting for a yard on first down to get a fourth down to get a first down. I mean, that's who he is. That's Taysom Hill, the Swiss Army knife, jack of all trades, all the nicknames. I mean, he got hurt fighting for that 1 yard to extend that drive to keep the Saints' chances alive to win that game. I mean, 39 snaps. I mean, he's been beat up for the good part of the last 3 or 4 seasons, man. I mean, he was healthy for the first few seasons, and now it's just Father Time has taken over. I mean, that was a hit, man, that nobody would have gotten up from it. I mean, He wasn't trying to do it. I mean, it was like that helmet to the knee. And you could tell, like, all the players from both teams and coaches were just, feeling bad. They were there. I mean, they're heartbroken for him. I mean, while he was getting carted off the field in the stadium chanting Taysom was also, a great way for the fans to, send him out for this season. Yeah, I mean, that stinks, man. I mean, he's a big part of the offense. At 34 years old, you never want a guy who's a gadget player to be one of your biggest part of the offense, but he is, and that's just the way it is. And I don't know, Hunt. I mean, part of me thinks he's going to try to come back and play. I mean, maybe they extend him for another year or two. He's going to be 35 before the season kicks off, so it's going to be interesting. I wouldn't be shocked if he retires, and I wouldn't be shocked if he comes back for another year or two.
If he comes back, could you see him as a more traditional type player, or he would still take snaps and run the ball and throw passes and catch passes and run kickoffs back?
I keep saying, well, whoever's the coach has to find a way to keep him healthy, but, like, that's who he is.
Yeah.
How could you tell him, hey, we're going to play you just at this one position when you see what he did against the Cleveland Browns and how much of a contributor he is and how productive he is on the field for your offense? I would think the next coach might have to, like, has to find a happy medium, and when it comes to using Taysom Hill, because they have to have other playmakers. It's plain and simple. You got to find other playmakers, kind of to soften the blow for Taysom if he does come back.
What do you think Taysom's legacy in New Orleans is going to be?
Oh, he's an easy Saints Hall of Famer. I mean, there's no doubt.
Wow.
There's no doubt he's an easy Saints Hall of Famer. He will go into that Saints Hall of Fame once he retires, and he's eligible for it easily. I mean, he was productive. Huh? I mean, I think I saw somebody put out a stat that he has the most 30-plus yards rushing touchdowns in Saints history. And I mean, that says a lot. I mean, he is what he is. I mean, he did a good job when he was healthy. I mean, he gave the team a spark whenever they needed sparks many of times. Remember when Sean started him at quarterback, he had a very good record. I think it was 7-1, 8-1. I mean, he's going to go down as one of the better players in Saints history. Because what he was able to do at many different positions. I mean, don't forget, he's blocked some punts, too, on special teams. And he's contributed in all three phases.
I mean, unique is an overused word. I say that a lot, but it's true because people always try to put a caveat on it. Very unique or more unique. Unique just means one of a kind, and he is a unique player. There's never been one like him, and there may not be one like him in New Orleans for a very, very long time. So, yeah, I mean, I see that. It's just a little bit surprising to hear that for sure. Where does this Saints team go now without him? Now without Rashid Shaheed, without Chris Olave for the time being? I mean, what do they do offensively?
Oh, man. They're going to have to lean heavily on Alvin Kamara, Juwan Johnson, MVS. I mean, that's pretty much, all they kind of really have. I mean, you saw some, flashes from Kevin Austin, but I mean, they're really running out of players here. Huh? I mean, they truly are. I mean, they got 5 games left, and you would think they can win the Giants and Raiders games and maybe sneak one more, but it's going to be tough to sneak one more win over one of those other teams like the Commanders, Green Bay, and what's going to probably be like 3 degrees in the snow on Monday Night Football, and then at Tampa Bay to close out the season. So, man, hopefully they can sneak out those 2 wins against those two other bad teams. But that's just where they are now, man. I mean, they suffered devastating injuries on that offense, and it's started to take a toll on them.
What's the temperature of the city right now?
It's probably like 55.
Thank you for that. Figuratively speaking.
Well, honestly, I think they're just ready to get it over with.
Yeah.
I know it's another topic, but you have the Pelicans and the Saints, and it's not great. I mean, yeah, the Tulane has been great for them. I mean, it's crazy to think on this day right now, Tulane has more wins than both of those teams combined. But right now, it's Saints. It's like, come on, let's get this over with. Let's see who the coach is going to be. Let's see how the front office retools this team in some form or fashion. How they do in the draft. I mean, Mickey or whoever the GM is going to be moves back in the draft for the first time in forever. This team needs players, huh? I mean, there's no buts about it. They need players in a very bad way. And I think the only way they're going to be able to do it is in the draft. So this is going to be the most important time in the Saints franchise after the 2005 season before they hired Sean and signed Drew.
We'll see how it shakes out. We'll be talking to you along the way. Safe travels up to Baton Rouge, and hopefully I'll see you tonight.
All right, Hunt. See you tonight, hopefully.
Sheree Aishack, WDSU, down there in New Orleans. We'll be up here for Florida State and LSU. Why don't I give you a pick for that game? We'll do that when we come back and close things out. It is a Tuesday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show. Maybe
you're coming to the PMAC tonight. Maybe you're not. Want to watch it at home. Do you have a quality game-watching setup? Do you have a quality home entertainment setup? Going to have a lot of folks maybe at the house for Christmas. Want to be able to have everybody entertained. Want to have everybody hearing that surround sound. Your home entertainment system could use some beefing up. Audio Video Security Solutions is the place to do it. Mitchell Fisher is the owner of the company. This is his cell phone. This is the point person for you to start that process with Audio Video Security Solutions. It's 225-439-7920. Remember, they were the People's Choice Award winner earlier this year for Best Vendor at the Parade of Homes because the quality of their work is fantastic and their customer service is great as well. If you'd like an idea of some of the things that Audio Video Security Solutions can do for you, I highly suggest check out their Instagram feed, AVSS_BR. It's got fantastic examples of some of the audio equipment that they can provide for you, some of the video equipment they can provide, and certainly on the security side of things as well. It's audio, video, security solutions. Check them out online, avssla.com, avssla.com.
The best kept secret in town is out. Discover Tallulah at the Renaissance Hotel on Bluebonnet.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
The Windsor Senior Living Community in Mandeville, Louisiana is a beautiful, vibrant apartment community geared towards seniors. They are nestled right in the heart of Mandeville, where seniors live a more carefree lifestyle in spacious apartments with the peace of mind that comes from having a little extra help. Call the Windsor at 985-624-8040 to schedule a lunch and tour. Come see how the Windsor can be your passport to peace of mind.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial property. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana, and they're local. So call today at 293-0450 or lainsurance.net.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success.
And looking forward to 50 more.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show with former Texas A&M Yell leader, Hunt Palmer. Giga Maggies.
Congratulations to our 2024 Hooters College Football Pick'em season-long champion, Roy Bearmore. Roy wins a 75-inch 4K flat-screen TV with a soundbar and free Hooters wings for an entire year. Also, congratulations to our Week 14 winner, Beatsy Plaisance from Prairieville. Beatsy wins a Hooters wing party for 10 people. Coming soon, it's the Hooters College Football Pick'em Bowl Pick'em contest with 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
All right, closing up shop here on a Tuesday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. Told you I'd give you a pick for LSU and Florida State tonight. I gave you a preview of that in the first hour. If you're heading to the game or going to watch it tonight and want a preview, from my perspective, you can find that on demand wherever you find your podcast via the Hunt Palmer Show, obviously, because it was on the Hunt Palmer Show. But as we've been telling you the last couple of weeks, Hoops with Hunt is back live. You can go to that same podcast feed that you've been going to since 2018, I think. And if you want to hear my basketball segments, they're all archived there. It's not like I used to do it where it was every morning and then I'd post it and it was every day. This is just going to be the basketball segments that I do on the show. So if you don't want to dig through entire shows for 2 hours, don't want to dig through the YouTube show, and you just want hoops content, understood. We got it for you at Hoops with Hunt, wherever you find your podcast. I think that LSU is pretty evenly matched with Florida State based on some of the highlights I watched and some of the statistics, some of the history of some of the players there. Florida State is probably a little better defensive team. LSU is probably a little more balanced on offense. I do think that Florida State probably has the most dynamic scorer on the floor with Jameer Watkins. He's going to be a handful for LSU. I can't wait to see how Matt McMahon tries to guard him. Jameer Watkins averages 17 a game for Florida State. He was an honorable mention All-ACC player last year, and nobody else on the Florida State team averages more than 10.5 points per game. So it's a team that really leans on Watkins heavily. He had 30 on Rice. He had 19 on Florida. Like, he's a big piece to what they do at 6'7" out on the wing. It's one of the few teams that LSU has played thus far, if any, that is not heavily dependent on their backcourt. They're not a heavy guard team. Their scoring comes from more of their size in the front court. LSU's going to have to deal with that defensively. Hopefully Jai Bailey is up to that challenge this evening. Excited to see that. I think the crowd's going to be decent tonight. I do. It won't be heavy with students. I don't think it's dead week, and I don't know that you'll have a huge student crowd, but I do think that the Baton Rouge will show up okay for this game because the Tigers have played pretty well through the first 3 weeks. Won't be anywhere near full, but I'm thinking they could probably get 6,000 people in there tonight, I would hope. We'll see. I will pick LSU to win this game on their home floor. Keep in mind, I was wrong on the Kansas State game, so we'll see. But I'm excited to get in the PMAC tonight. I'll be covering it for LouisianaSports.net, so hope to see a bunch of you inside the PMAC tonight. 8 o'clock tip for LSU and Florida State. All right, Beck, take it or leave it.
All righty, first one here in a press conference before the Hero World Challenge, was, of course, his Tiger Woods tournament that he hosts in Bahamas. He said he's still a long way to go before he is PGA Tour ready to play again. He actually is not going to be playing in this event, which he usually does. Just said he was not tournament sharp yet. Woods will tee it up at Augusta in April. Take it or leave it.
I'll take it. He can't help himself. He can't help himself. I'm surprised he's not playing in the Hero because it's flat and it's easy. I mean, he can make a ton of birdies out there, and I don't think he's going to embarrass himself if he goes out there and shoots 73, 72, 70, 70. Because I mean, the guys are going to shoot a bajillion under, but it's a flat golf course and it's pretty easy. But I realize he did have surgery, so it's understandable that there's no reason for him to go do it. He wants to save all of his proverbial bullets for the majors. He'll play at Augusta. He'll probably miss the cut. I don't have any confidence that he'll ever truly get his ability physically back to walk the course for 4 days and play good golf. I think he's got 18 holes in him here or there that can be pretty good. But I'm over that. I don't need him to quit. I don't think he's tarnishing his legacy or sullying my opinion of Tiger Woods because he goes out to Augusta and shoots 75 in the cold. But I'm done thinking that he's got another magical weekend in him.
All right, next one here. Aroldis Chapman is reportedly going to be signing a one-year deal with the Red Sox. Chapman will play for every team in the majors at some point. Take it or leave it.
All I care about is the team he played for 2 months in 2016. And I remember when the Cubs traded for him and they put him out there the first game and he threw 103 and that was great. And then he threw a slider that was 92 back before when that was commonplace in the big leagues. And I was like, holy cow. And he gave up a big home run in Game 7 of the World Series that hurt my heart. But he did a lot of really good stuff for that Cubs team. So I know he's played for everybody just about. And I play Immaculate Grid every morning. So that'll be one that I can file away pretty quickly. But don't care about any of the other teams he plays for. Just 2016 for 2 months.
All right, next one here. The SEC will take home the SEC ACC Challenge in men's basketball. Take it or leave it.
I will take it. I think the SEC is a better league. I think the SEC is the best league in college basketball. I think the top is excellent. I think the depth is remarkable. And it's why I'm not, banging down the door for this LSU team. I'm very encouraged by the Kansas State game. I'm very encouraged by the second half against UCF. But it's just going to be a fight every single night in the SEC, and I think that'll prove itself out over the next 2 days. You obviously got some big ones with Auburn and Duke. I think Alabama's playing North Carolina, if I'm not mistaken. So, a lot of big time matchups. Kentucky's playing Clemson, which is weird. I realized they played Duke in the first game, so that makes a lot of sense. But I'm excited to watch a little bit of that. I'll start that up at 6 o'clock tonight.
All right, last one here. Will Campbell will be a top 10 pick in the NFL draft. Take it or leave it.
I'm going to leave that. Sounds like there's some thought that he may be a guard in the NFL.
Okay.
Maybe not, maybe so, and it just takes one team to fall for you. What I think helps him is that I don't know that everybody's going to be rushing to the front of the draft for a quarterback, which can happen. So maybe I'm hopeful, but either way, he's going to be the first round pick for an offensive lineman out of LSU since Alan Faneca in the late 90s. So you're talking about a guy who absolutely lived up to the billing as a 5-star top prospect who started for 3 years in every game, was durable, was never hurt, and is going to go out as a first-round pick. So he made the right decision to go out. I think it's his time to go play professional football, but he was a heck of a player in purple and gold, and LSU will absolutely miss him. Now the question is, what do his teammates decide to do after that? Just a little bit of a tease there. If you'd like to find out what I think they're going to do, you can go back to the beginning of hour number 2 when I go through a bunch of LSU's draft decisions and suggest what they may or may not do. All right, quickly, what we did today on the show, talked about Cade Phillips' decommitment, paired with Bryce Underwood's decommitment, and then Jakeem Stewart trending elsewhere, and what I think about LSU in the recruiting landscape. That you can find at Hunt on LSU or at the top of the show. Hoops preview, full preview of LSU and Florida State. Glenn West was just talking a lot of football. I gave my college football playoff thoughts at the end of hour number 1. We talked about Will Campbell's decision. Sonny Shipp from Go 24/7 was with us talking recruiting and previewing tomorrow. So you can catch that at Hunt on LSU on YouTube. And Sheree Aishack briefly talking about the New Orleans Saints. Tomorrow's going to be a wild day. Signing day is going to be nuts from dawn to dusk. We'll have you covered as things happen between 1 and 3 o'clock. And then we'll recap LSU and Florida State. Very much looking forward to that in the PMAC tonight. I'm out of here. Matt will drive you home. Same time, same place tomorrow for a Wednesday edition of The Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Evolve Physical Therapy and Sports. EvolvePT.com is the website. No matter your age, no matter why you're in pain or you've had surgery, if you're an active person and want to get back to being your active self, Evolve Physical Therapy and Sports is where you need to be. Robbie Bolton and his team of licensed physical therapists have been at this for 2 decades. Professional athletes have trusted them to get back to the professional ranks from surgeries. If you're trying to get back on the golf course, trying to get back to working out, trying to get back to playing with the kids, if you're a youth athlete trying to get back on the field with your friends, Evolve Physical Therapy and Sports can absolutely help you. It's hands-on from start to finish. Soft tissue manipulation, isokinetic testing, cupping, scraping, dry needling, state-of-the-art, top-of-the-line equipment. They've got it all at Evolve Physical Therapy and Sports. They're on Starring near Highland Road, or check them out online. It's EvolvePT.com.